Well, hello, I'm going to show you how to make a cowl in my my Balla Stitch, and I'm going to do it as a flat panel that I connect to look like a very nice draping cowl. So here's how it's looking as I'm getting started, but what I'm going to do is get you to the point I am, so I'll start it and show you the yarn and everything, and we will get going. So we will see you in a bit. Buy it chunky yarn, it's bulky yarn, and the color is, there it is over there, it is called Heather shade, and so the shade is 3179 Heather, and it's a really pretty combination of colors. There's light pinky purples and some greens and some purples, and they're just all nice, really nice pastel colors. And the yarn is I think it's about 50-50 wool and acrylic. No, it's 70 acrylic and 30 wool. So there you go. And it is a bulky yarn. And then the loom I'm using is a Cindywood loom, and this came from their replacement of the Nifty Knitter type circle sets. And this is the 3/4 inch 30 peg loom. And I decided I would use 28 pegs, so I've marked my 2 end pegs here, and these will be my 2 beginning pegs. And you can use even or odd, it doesn't make any difference, but just have 2 pegs for your ends. Okay, and the loom hook I'm using is one I had made from a company back east in Canada. They don't make loom hooks anymore, but you can get similar ones to this on Etsy. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm just going to take my yarn and I'm going to put it into a slip knot, just like that. Put it on the first peg and snug it. And then I'm just going to make sure it's nice and snug, and I can just put mine on the Cindywood little hook here, but you can just pull on it to keep it tight. And then I'm just going to loom hook in here, scoop it up like this to make a loop. And once I've got that loop, I'm just going to put it behind the next peg, snug it up. Now, if you have trouble doing this, this is a crochet chain cast on. You can always do some other kind of cast on. This one is the nicest one for not curling with the edge I'm going to do. And it looks the nicest, I think, but if you have a cast on you like better, go ahead and use that. I'm just going to keep going behind the peg, the working yarn through, and tighten it up. That's kind of my system where I go tighten, tighten, tighten to get the right tension. But you don't have to do that. You can just do it all in one thing, however you like doing it. You don't want to get it so tight you can't knit them over, but you don't want your cast on edge to be loose either. So you're just going to snug it up as you go. That's all there is to it. So I'm just going to put you on pause so I can keep this video a decent length. So when it uploads too, it won't take forever. And so then we'll just catch up when I get to the end of this row. Okay, so now I've got the loop and I'm over to the last peg. So on the last peg, I'm just going to put the loop over it and tighten and get my loom hook. And I'm just going to secure it by doing a U-wrap over it. Okay, and then for my base stitch, I'm just going to do 2 rows of owl eye. So to do owl eye, we're going to go back over this peg. We're going to keep it loose, and we're going to knit over. And for owl eye, we're always on peg 1. We always wrap 1 and 2, like that. We're on peg 1. We go over 1 and 2, knit it over. We're on peg 1, we go over peg 1 and 2. Very easy stitch to do. I have plenty of stitches where I used owl eye plus my owl eye stitch video on YouTube. Okay, we're on peg 1, we go over 1 and 2. All there is to it. Just going to knit all the way to the end. Oop. That's all there is to this stitch. Very easy and goes very quickly. So again, I'm going to put you on pause till I get to the end of the row, and we will see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm coming to the end here, finishing off the owl eye stitch. Now whenever I'm going to let this go now, and whenever you're coming back, you're always going to go over like this when you're coming back from owl eye, keeping this loose, and then just knitting it off. And then we're just going to do the second row of owl eye, and we're going to go to the end. So I'm going to put you on pause again, and then we'll be ready to start the Balla stitch. And it's just a 1 row stitch, really easy stitch, and goes really fast, so you'll be whipping out that shawl in no time at all. It's one of the faster shawls to do. Okay, so I will meet you up at the end of the row. Okay, so I'm just finishing up this row. Okay, now to start the row for the Balla stitch, what we're going to do is go loosely over peg 1 and 2. Okay, and then peg 2, we're going to go right into the Balla stitch. Peg 2 is always going to be done a little different than the rest of the ones of the row so that we can have a good edge. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go over the 2 like we're doing owl eye, except we're going to come back behind the 2 and go over them again. So now we're going to have 2 loops on them. Now we're going to take the 2 bottom loops and put them over the top, and the 2 bottom loops here and put them over the top. Now you may get confused because this one comes up high, but the top loop is always going to be the one that you're holding with the yarn, not your top. And then we're going to just pull the other 2 over the top again. Okay, then we're on peg 1, just like when we're doing owl eye. We're going to go over 1 and 2 again, but we're going to go behind and wrap over a second time. And then the 2 bottom loops go over the top. And again, the 2 bottom loops go over the top one. We're on peg 1. We go over 1 and 2 behind them and over 1 and 2 again. Knit it over. Knit it over. We're on peg 1, we go over 1 and 2, behind and over them again, knit the 2 bottom ones over the top. It's pretty easy. We're on peg 1, over 1 and 2, behind and over again, bottom ones over the top. Now to just take a quick look, just because look at how much we've got. We have the 2 owl eye rows down here, but we're already starting to get a lot of pattern because this stitch goes so fast. Okay. So you want to wonder where you are. So you look at where this, because you had to put it down, you look at where is it? It's coming out of this peg. You can see it's either on this side or this side, but it's coming out of this peg. So this is the peg we're going to wrap over. 1 and 2. Behind and over again. So you can put down your work and easily know where you were. If you're wondering which direction you're going to look and you're going to see that you have a lot more work here than you have here. So you must be going this way. And also when you look at your yarn, right, you're going to see that there's a loop here and you're going over the loop. And when you pull, you're pulling on it from that direction. That tells you what direction you are going. Okay, so we're on peg 1. We go over 1 and 2 and over 1 and 2 again. And then we just knit them over. and knit it over. And never get confused, because the top one is always the one where you're taking the 2 over. Peg 1. Make sure it's always the bottom 2 that go over the top. Yarn peg 1 around like that again. And over the top. And peg 1. Very, very fast stitch. I'm just going to put you on pause, and I will catch up when we're at the end of the row again. Okay, we're caught up. So I'm going to show you how we're going to be doing the edges now that we're doing a longer stitch and we have to balance the edges. So here we are in peg 1, going over 1 and 2, knitting that off. Now we're back on the first marked peg, so we're going to do it normally like that. But now that we're on this peg, we're going to go over peg 2 and 1, just like we do owl eye. We're going to do the owl eye edge, coming back loose, knitting it over, but we want the stitch to be longer, so we're going to go back and go over 1 and 2 again. So see that? 1 peg 1, and I'm coming over behind and just knitting these 2 off. And that's going to give you a longer stitch on the edge. Okay, now we're on the peg 2 again, and now we go into the pattern. So we're going to come around twice, knit it off, then we're going to go all the way to the edge. Whoop, I only went over once there. What I was thinking. So we have to come back, put that on, get this over properly. There we go. And now we're going to come over twice. So sometimes when I'm talking, I stop thinking. Big reveal. This is really, really easy. So you wonder where you were. See? This is your top one because you're holding on to it. So if that ever happens, and then you can also pull your work down to make it easier. Okay, we're on peg 1. We go over 1 and 2. And I always hold my yarn with my fingers to help hold it up. And that helps me to see which stitches are under. There. Okay, over 1 and 2. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble from the angle I'm at, but that's okay. I just want to make sure you can see. Whoop. There. There. I turn the angle this way. I think you can still see it, just be a little bit easier for me. We're going to go over 1 and 2. Okay, I'm going to go over 1 and 2. Okay, and so we're just going to keep going. And when we get to the edge, we will catch up. I'm already quite a ways around, but we'll just have a look at it now that we got 2 layers of yarn. Look at that. That's just 2 rows. And look how much we have. That's a really pretty textured stitch too. And on the other side, it looks pretty cool. When it gets longer, you'll see it has a pattern like this. But this side is a lot nicer. And it just goes so fast. Okay, so I will catch up to you when I get to this other end here. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I've done my stitch all the way to here. So after we've done this 2 pegs like this, then to go do the edge, we just go over this edge once like this and knit it off. We come back nice and loose and knit it off. Then we come back and knit over it one more time to give us that longer edge. And then we come back like this to do the stitch. Okay, I'm going to show you what the edge looks like now that we've done the edge a couple times. So see, this has made our edge, so the edge is just as long as the stitch here. If we can get into a good light so you can see it here, there we go. So this edge is longer because I've done this. We need to get longer so you can see it, but it will be, the edge will be as long as the stitch. The stitch is still pretty small to actually pull down, but we've done 3 rows and we're this far in now. And there's our edge being as long as the stitch. See? Okay, and to see what the edge looks like so far, I mean, we do need to go more. It just looks like this, and it kind of echoes the stitch. And here you can look at it on this side. This yarn gets thicker and fatter, so sometimes it can be easier to see it where it's all kind of thinner. It gives you a look like this at the edge. Okay, so that's all there is to it, and you just keep going. So I'll catch up you'll catch up to me in a bit. I'm just going to knit ahead, and then we'll check in when we've got a lot done. Okay, so once you have your flat piece here, as long as you want, and you want it long enough that you're going to be able to put it around your neck and see that it will get close to attaching to itself on the other side, to the loom, to the piece here, and then you know it's going to be long enough. Okay, and then we're going to attach it like we would attach, kind of like we would attach a poncho, but we're going to reduce it a bit. Okay, so once you get that to that length, what we're going to do is just do a row of E-wrap. Okay, so the reason we're doing a row of E-wrap is so that it'll be easy to move the pegs. Okay, so I'm just going to E-wrap every peg. The E-wrap is a really nice loose stitch, so it makes it really easy to move things around. And I'm going to do 3 of them at once here. Some of you will just E-wrap a whole row because that's how you like to do it. But I don't ever want to get back in the habit of doing something like that because it causes laddering in round pieces, and so I keep my habit of not doing too many at a time. And there we go. Okay, so now all we're going to do is we're going to take the yarn from number 1 and put it on number 2, the yarn from number 3 and put it on number 4, and I'm at an odd angle. You won't have such a hard time, but I want to keep it in the camera, so we'll just do that. We just keep putting the yarn from one to the other, so you're going to have 2 pieces of yarn blank, 2 pieces of yarn blank, 2 pieces of yarn blank, and we're just reducing it. Oop. Almost took the wrong one. Don't want to skip any. So you just put the yarn on, and then you go to the next peg, take the yarn and move it over and put on the next one. It should stretch quite nice since you did an E-wrap. There, I got a good way of doing it at this angle. Okay. So then I'm just going to go do a row of U-wrap again, and I'm just going to U-wrap and knit this off, and then come from behind and U-wrap and knit this one off. And if you have to, you can do them one at a time if they're too tight, and go behind, and all we're going to do is U-wrap the pegs that have the yarn on it and move the yarn behind the ones that don't, and we're just knitting them off. I can just take them off one at a time if they're tight. And I'm on a wide gauge loom, so depending how far you had to move them, they can be tight. And then the last one. Okay, now we've got about half the stitches. And then what we're going to do is just keep moving them, moving the yarns until, and it might take you a little time to do this, and especially at the angle I'm at. There we go. And what we're going to do is just keep moving them down, and a little at a time until they're all in the middle of the loom. So you just take whichever one's easier and you just keep moving them down. Okay, so I'm moving this one over. I can move this one over now. If I can do it at this angle. Especially the color yarn is so close to the color of the loom. And I'm just going to keep moving them down. And as long as there's just one loop on every peg and they're all together, so there's no blank spaces, that's all you have to do is get them closer together, because we're going to reduce one more time. Now if you have a loom that you can take out pegs, you can do that too. This doesn't take that long though, really. See, I'm just moving them down. And if we wanted to, we could start on this side too. Take this one and move it down. And just put that tight there. And just keep moving them down. Actually here, I can see better at this angle, so this is a little bit easier for me to move over here. mean, there's more than one way to reduce it, but this is the way that I decided I wanted to do it today. Okay. Move this one over here. Come on. Come on. There we go. You can do it. Okay. I'm coming over 2. But really, I only have to come over 1 at a time. I just felt like coming over 2. Just do whatever's easier for you. And the one that is on the end, be careful that that one doesn't get too loose and come off on you. Okay. Even though it's easier on this side, I think I'm only going to do this much because I'm too worried about this one coming off. And we're just going to keep moving them down. Might be easier for me to do it this way. So you can even do it with your fingers. It's really not hard to do it. It's just the angle that I'm at, because I want to be able to keep this in the camera. But it's actually really easy to do. Okay, see, we're almost there. We only have a few blank pegs here. And my yarn is kind of splitting there. Well, look at that. See, we're almost done. And the last one right there. And now we're down to this amount of pegs. So now, I got tangled up in the yarn. I'm just going to do another row of E-wrap. Okay, so I'm going to E-wrap them. And then down to the last peg and E-wrap it. And there we go. And then we're going to do just one more reduction. We're going to take this one, put it on the second peg, this one, put it on the next peg, there we go, this one and put it on the next peg, this one and put on the next peg, and this one and put on the next peg. Now if you made a wider shawl than me, it'll still work. This is reduction, works well enough for any size. Oh, that one's already done. I'm trying to do it again. Too busy talking to pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. Okay. And then we're just going to E-wrap them again. So E-wrapping them together. And you can take them over one at a time again. Makes it easier if they're tight. And passing the yarn behind again. Can't seem to find where that yarn is. There we go. Okay. And come over here. This kind of cowl is nice to make, especially if you have a stitch that looks better in a flat panel, but also is a really, really attractive cowl to have on. Okay, and then we're just going to take it off the loom. And what we're going to do is take your yarn and wrap it around like that to make sure you have enough yarn to take it off, and then you can just cut it. And then I'm going to get a yarn needle. And although you don't have to do that, if you want to, you can just use your yarn hook, because all I'm going to do, so you can use a needle, is I'm going to pass this string through all the loops. Okay, so I'm just going to come in front and pass the end through all the loops. That's just so I can gather them in. And then I can just take this all off the loom. Just hold on to this so it doesn't come through if it's a little shorter than you wanted it to be. Mine's nice and long. And there we go. Okay, so then all we're going to do is, whoops, that was my loom, is we're going to bring this around and attach it on the side. Okay, to make a cowl. So I'm just going to put you on pause and get it positioned and put a couple pins in it to hold it, and then we will take it, we will connect it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is you have this that you've drawn in right here, and so I'm just holding on to this edge, and I have it on me on the wrong side. Okay, and then we're going to come down, and on this edge, this is where we're going to attach it. So I put in 4 stitch markers just in the stitches here, just to have a place to attach it, and so I would know about how wide I'm going to do it. And then we just come in, and we're going to attach it along this side where these stitch markers are, drawing it in, and we're just going to attach it. So I'm going to take this loop here and put it through where I have this stitch marker here, just so I have it attached. And then I'm going to put my needle in. So I'm just going to get a needle, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my needle in, and I've attached on this edge where I want to attach it. So I'm just going to take this loom hook, or this little clip out, and then I'm going to make sure that I've got this drawn in how I want it to be, to go from here to here. And I'm just going to do a knot. At this point, I'm just going to put it inside out, and I'm just going to sew it together. From here, where I've drawn in, I've got my yarn here that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to sew it in right to the end of where I drew it in, right here. So I'm just going to clip that piece together to this clip. So here's the last stitch that I drew in. I'm going to put it on that, and then I can take the other hooks off because they were just holding places. And then we're just going to sew it together, and we're going to try to keep it nice and straight. And I'm just going to sew it with a whip stitch. So with a whip stitch, I'm just going to go, I'm going to pick up yarn on this side and then pick up yarn on this side and just stitch it together all the way along. Until I come down here. And I'm going to be, this is holding the place, so the last ones I'm going to pick up here. And I'm just going to stitch it. I'm going to take this off. Okay, and right here, I'm just going to do another knot, hold it, and then I'm going to take a look on this side to see how it is, to see how much more I want to stitch it in. And I don't like that it's a little bit holy here, so I'm going to bring it in a little bit more, but this is where you just do your little adjustments to get it looking just the way you want it. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to pick up this loop right in here where it's loose with the whip stitch. And I'm going to pick up some more stitches here, and I'm going to come in down to here and just pick up more. That's just stitching it in until you get it the way you like it to be, looking nice and neat. So this is just one method to attach things. If you have another method you like, you can do that instead. I have another cowl where I attached in a different way to make this style. Okay, and that's shorter. This one looks longer, so this one I want to come down and pick up some stitch in here. There we go. And then come up here. There we go. And then we can take a look and see how it's looking, and see now I picked up all the loose things and it's making a nice attachment here. So these two are attached, and then I'm just going to make another knot, weave in the end, and you're done. That's it. Okay, and I won't weave in the end right now. That's pretty easy to do. But this is attached, and you're going to put this over your shoulder here. This goes over your shoulder, and you're going to adjust it so that what happens is you have this, hard to imagine right now, but you have this point coming down. And I'll have a picture on my model, so you'll see how to put that on, but you'll have that over your head with this point coming down. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and you'll see the picture on the model, so you'll see what it looks like. And until next time, bye.